G'day everyone, Artist Wayne here and welcome to episode 4 of my Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior 3D print in a huge 1/8 scale. And as you can see, I have been panel beating. So let's jump into it as I continue to assemble this mighty Mad Max model. And this awesome 3D print file came from the fantastic folks at Gambody, where you too can build your very own Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior Interceptor from the 1981 post-apocalyptic action film directed by George Miller, second installment in the Mad Max film series, which featured so many iconic Australian muscle cars. But at the end of the day, who can forget the most famous car of them all? The Pursuit Special, also referred to as the last of the V8 Interceptors. This iconic black GT Falcon muscle car, featuring that distinctive supercharger and the famous Concorde front end, and two huge cylindrical fuel tanks cut into the rear of the car, easily giving it one of the most recognisable iconic film car looks to ever hit the big screen. Being a huge Mad Max fan, of course I had to have this model. So naturally this car was my first print project since buying and assembling my original Prusa MK4S 3D printer. And I was printing the largest parts to this model yet, the roof and rear quarter sections, which, just like the chassis, had to be sliced and diced in Prusa Slicer so I could fit it on the heat bed. 16.5 hours in, and we only have 7.5 hours of printing to go. Big print this time, big print. 86%. Printing nicely. Getting low on filament. Well, at least getting low on black filament. 30 minutes left. I better get the right side rear quarter sliced and diced and ready to go on, because I'm really keen to put all of this together, get it primed, get it perfect, and get it painted. Well, I've cleaned up the roof and rear quarter. I've got to glue that together. This side flute won't do. I'm going to have to cut out all of these ribs except for the top and bottom, build this front part up, and then put more ribs in, because there's probably 9 ribs to go in for the GT side flutes on the Mad Max car. The two halves of the rear quarter are together now, all glued. I've given it a rough sand and a light sand. Still a bit rough, but it's time to go to town and bog this baby up. And whilst all this was going on, print almost finished. And how cool is that? Using clear filament. That looks so cool. I figured if I couldn't print a clear windscreen, I might as well use up my clear filament. And of course, whilst I was printing, I was puttying. This is an 11-hour print. I'm going all part of the day and all night. I've got 3 hours to go. And I will have the entire roof and rear quarter panels of the Interceptor ready to put together. This will be the biggest job yet. It's interesting, printing in clear, you can see all the infill inside there, like scaffolding, all the support. Obviously it'll be sprayed black. I thought I might as well use some clear filament because, hell, I don't like my chances of getting a clear print with this clear filament. I really don't. Anyhow, my idea of using clear packaging like a yogurt lid for the car windows was a much better idea. Yes, that was right, but now I had other problems. You see, the two halves of the roof and rear quarters were made to slide together around the chassis before gluing. But I wanted to be able to glue the two pieces together, patch, prime and paint before attaching it to the chassis.
which made things a little tricky. I was going to need to modify the chassis. This morning, I'm getting the big guns out. Yes, I modified my chassis by cutting it up so that my roof and rear quarters, once assembled, would slip straight over the top. And I also needed to give my GT Falcon side scoops a more correct look by using my Magic Sculpt putty. Now all I needed was to make the inner ribs for my side scoops.
These side scoops need the inner part printed, and I'm just going to print these sections out. I sliced and diced the washer wiper grill. I've just basically cut out a section, stretched it, so I get these ribs, which will go right in here.
It sounded great in theory, but would it work? And now that the largest parts of my model had been printed, I began printing more of the internal items for Mad Max's Interceptor. But I always needed to be super careful not to drop them on the floor.
Look everyone, I printed out 2 buckets, but see, one of them looks different. Lily, did you chew this bucket? Did you chew that bucket? Lily, did you chew that bucket? No, you're not gonna have it. Alright, a bit of an update whilst we have 90km winds outside. I've given the roof and rear quarters 3 light coats of primer.
And between coats I was adding all the netting, bedding and material to the inside of the Interceptor. Items I had nicked from Mum's after our visit to the Central Coast. You see, if I couldn't find things in the farm shed, I'd find them somewhere else. This would be my backdrop for all the internal items in Max's car. Items like the shotgun, air cleaner, binoculars, buckets, chains and ropes. It was time to start printing the right and left doors of the mighty Interceptor. Each door would take around 5 hours printing time.
Hot off the press, just finished, 5-hour print. The left hand door to the mighty Interceptor. Right hand side door, hot off the press. Printed that overnight. Now it's time to get this thing booted up to continue printing.
It was only the rear body parts left and those big gasoline tanks as I checked the fit of my 2 doors.
Alright, a quick sand of the door. I mean, I could keep sanding and sanding and sanding, but I'll use the wood putty. There's a door fresh off the bed, and you can see there are a few lines. My prints are way better than when I first started, so I cannot complain.
No, I could not. My prints were continuing to improve, and there was no reason not to expect that one day I would achieve a perfect print. But until that time, this would be my solution. A quick sand, wood putty, grey primer, matte black primer, and a gloss coat of clear enamel. Basically giving me a blank canvas to just go to town and add all that post-apocalyptic dust and dirt. I continued adding all the internal objects to the Interceptor, getting ready to close her all up with the roof and rear quarter assembly and 2 doors, and continually making sure everything fit correctly. Alright, a quick patch up on the roof and rear quarters. And now, it's showtime. Matte black. Continue on with the coats of matte black primer. The more coats I give it, the better it will look. Now, it's coming up nicely. However, it is a bit hard to get rid of the line down the centre of that roof. The trouble with modelling on a computer is you make one half and then make a mirror image. It doesn't always go together quite right. Alright, painting the rear quarter and roof and priming the doors. The good thing about using the grey primer enamel was its super hard finish. making it easy to give it a light sand with wet and dry sandpaper to get a beautiful smooth glass-like finish. Perfect for a couple of coats of matte black primer followed up by the clear gloss enamel. Which is exactly where I was with my roof and rear quarters assembly. I was working on my Mad Max 2 the Road Warrior Interceptor 3D printable model on all fronts now. The side skirts and car mirror were now printed. I was getting ready for my roof and rear quarters to be glued to the chassis. The rear parts to the Interceptor were now printing, and I was continuing to paint all the different objects like the air cleaner, bolt cutters, buckets, binoculars, shotgun and fire extinguisher.
And today is all about fitting the doors and the roof and rear quarters and those bottom sills to make sure everything fits well, and I can then paint these doors. Alright, it's a beautiful day today. Perfect day for painting. Still bloody cold up here on the Great Dividing Range. And I am sanding these wheel arches so this piece fits better. Just getting rid of that edge right there where I fit these two pieces together. It's not ideal to have to cut the model up to fit on the bed, but unfortunately that's what I have to do if I'm going to print a model this size. The rear quarter and roof has been put together, glued on, and hopefully, fingers crossed, those doors fit nicely. But I'll try those later when this is all dried.
Things were really beginning to come together now. My roof and rear quarters were now fixed to the chassis as I began putting the rear of the car together. Things were really beginning to take shape now as I moved on to printing those large cylindrical fuel tanks which dominate the rear of the Mad Max 2 Road Warrior Interceptor. Fuel tanks that were so large the movie car's rear window and boot lid would need to be removed. And these two tanks would take almost 11 hours to print.
Gasoline tanks.
And with these two tanks I only painted the metallic silver highlights, leaving the rest of the tank its natural black plastic colour, simply because these tanks would be covered in dust and dirt. All the largest parts of this model were now printed, but I still had a long way to go. All the wheels, spare tyre, steering, drivetrain, diff and suspension needed printing. I needed to find something bigger than the yogurt lids I had for the front windscreen, and I still needed to make a realistic dinky-dyed dog food box. But so far this Interceptor model was looking fantastic, and I couldn't be happier.
Well, that's it for episode 4, and as you can see, I've hit another milestone. All the body panels are assembled, and I cannot wait to paint all that post-apocalyptic dust and dirt. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, and if you have any comments, especially tips, please let me know. I'm artist Wayne Dowson, and I'll see you in episode 5. Happy 3D printing, everyone.